Hey, yo, it's Megamouth, and today I actually have a classic video game review, Virtual Bowling on the Virtual Boy. What score does this one deserve? Well, I will say throughout my life, I've played a bunch of different, bowling video games. Some of the ones that I remember most fondly are, of course, bowling on the Wii Sports video game, released originally on the Nintendo Wii at launch, back in, I guess, 2006. Some other ones were like on the Monkey Ball series, I think Super Monkey Ball 1 and Super Monkey Ball 2 on the Nintendo GameCube. Those had some awesome bowling games as well. And, I've never outright loved them, but, if they were like mini games or something in another game I bought, I thought they were always pretty fun. And so this one being a bowling only video game that was released on the Virtual Boy in the mid 1990s, would I have thought that it was worth the money? If I enjoyed, bowling video games, if they were a favorite genre of mine, I probably would have, really enjoyed this one. My first experience with it overall was that, at the first, I was terrible at the controls. Sorry, choked up there. I was terrible at the controls and the balls that kept going in the gutter over and over again. And it didn't exactly have really good instructions, from the start. But eventually, when I looked up, what I was actually supposed to be doing, how I was supposed to be controlling everything, the video game certainly got much better. And in fact, I actually started to do really good at one point. I got like two strikes in a row. Then another time I got three strikes in a row, a turkey. So ultimately, I think, this simplistic nature of these controls, like how to make the ball put spin on it this way or that, make the ball go left or right. I think ultimately that gameplay design, it's okay, especially for its time. I guess maybe I was spoiled by the Wii Sports Bowling, where you could really like, feel like you were throwing the ball and add twist to it this way or that. But ultimately for this one, I would say that once I got better at the controls, I could see how this was a quality, bowling video game. Would it have been worth the money, back in the mid 1990s though? I don't know. That's difficult to say because ultimately it is a very simplistic video game. This one actually could have been just like a mini game included in another larger video game compilation, but and at a certain point, it does almost get like too easy to hit strikes in this game if you know how to do the controls well. So ultimately, I would say there are certainly better bowling video games out there. Had I purchased it in the mid 1990s, I guess ultimately I could say I probably would have given it a score of like 3 out of 5. There's nothing outright wrong with it, but I wouldn't have hated it either. But from a modern perspective, it's not just the gameplay design and the controls and the monochromatic, red and black color scheme of the old Virtual Boy. Um, there are some things holding this one back, especially some bowling games almost get too easy, with the controls to hit strikes long term once you know how to do it. And so, based on that, I would say there are some things holding this one back. So, from a modern perspective, I would say I would go to a score of no more than 2.5 out of 5. There's certainly better versions of bowling out there available on the Nintendo Switch 1 and the Nintendo Switch 2. So ultimately, unless you have some real nostalgia for it from your childhood, I wouldn't really recommend playing this one other than it being like a historical curiosity. I guess the depth of field perception, the things that made the Virtual Boy unique, I guess this would have been a technological achievement in the 1990s, but ultimately, I guess I'm just droning on and on about this one. It was a little bit disappointing to me, not quite up to my expectations. I think they could have done better in several areas with the design of the game. This is Megamouse signing out. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe.